Stop saying this one expanded. Stop saying I can't. There are two of the most dangerous words we repeat to ourselves without realizing it. I can't. We throw them around casually, almost like filler words, without understanding how much power they carry. The truth is, when you say I can't, you've already closed the door before even trying to open it. You've handed your power away. You've told your mind there's no point in searching for a solution, because you've already decided there isn't one. Think about it when a child says, I can't tie my shoes. What do? We don't just accept it. We kneel down and encourage them. Yes, you can. Let's try again. But somewhere along the way, as adults, we stop giving ourselves that same encouragement. Instead, we believe the lie. We let I can't set the ceiling. But here's the truth. I can't really means I don't know how yet. That's it. It's not a final statement. It's just a starting point. Every skill you have today, there was once a time you didn't. You couldn't read until you could. You couldn't ride a bike until you could. You couldn't do the work you do now until you learned how. So why do we act like the challenges in front of us today are somehow impossible? Because I can't is easier than trying. I can't is safer than risking failure. I can't gives you an excuse to stop before you even start. And maybe that's why it feels comfortable, because it protects you from the discomfort of growth. But let me ask you, where has I can't ever taken you? Has it ever opened doors? Has it ever introduced you to new opportunities? Has it ever helped you grow? Of course not. It only shuts things down. So here's the challenge. Replace I can't with how can I. That simple shift flips the entire situation. Instead of saying, I can't run a mile, ask, how can I run a mile? Maybe the answer is training little by little, starting with a walk. Instead of, I can't start a business, ask, how can I start a business? And now your brain starts searching. Maybe the answer is researching, maybe it's saving money, maybe it's finding a mentor. But the moment you ask how, you give yourself permission to look for a path forward. Let me tell you something powerful. The people you admire, the ones who seem fearless, the ones who succeed, they're not people who never felt I can't. They're just people who decided not to stop there. They changed it to how can I, and let that question drive them. Think about someone training for a marathon. The first time they try, their body screams, I can't do this. And maybe in that moment it's true. They can't finish the 26 miles today. But instead of taking it as a permanent truth, they ask, how can I? And so they run a mile today, 2 miles tomorrow, 5 the next week. Eventually, that I can't turns into I did. The same applies to your career, your relationships, your goals. I can't keeps you small. How can I keeps you growing. Now, here's the part you need to remember. The words you say are more than words. They are commands to your brain. Every time you say I can't, your brain takes it as a final instruction. It stops working for you, but every time you say how can I, you've just given your brain an assignment. It starts connecting dots, looking for possibilities, scanning for opportunities. So the next time you catch yourself saying I can't, pause. Take a breath and correct yourself. No, I may not know how yet, but how can I? That's how you break the cycle. That's how you open doors. That's how you move from stuck to unstoppable. Because the truth is, you can. You always could. It just starts with asking the right question. 2. Stop saying, I'll do it later. There's a phrase that sounds harmless when it leaves our lips, but it's quietly one of the most destructive habits we can form. I'll do it later. We say it when we're tired. We say it when we're overwhelmed. We say it when something feels uncomfortable, inconvenient, or just plain boring. And most of the time, we convince ourselves it's no big deal. Later feels safe. It feels like we're still in control. After all, we didn't say no. We just postponed it. But here's the problem. Later almost always turns into never. Think about how many times you've told yourself, I'll start working out later, or I'll fix that relationship later, or I'll chase that dream later, and then weeks pass. Months pass, sometimes years, and suddenly you look back and realize later stole the chance you had to change your life. Procrastination is the silent killer of progress. It doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It just whispers later until your time is gone. Here's what makes this phrase so dangerous. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," you're training yourself to value comfort over growth. You're teaching your brain that the easiest option is the acceptable one. And over time, that tiny decision becomes a habit, a reflex that stops you before you even start. But let me tell you something. Action beats perfection every single time. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need the perfect timing. You don't need to feel ready. What you need is to take one step right now, because the truth is the hardest part of anything isn't doing it, it's starting it. Think about it. Once you lace up your shoes and step out the door, running isn't as bad as you imagined. Once you open your laptop and type the first sentence, writing doesn't feel so impossible. Once you pick up the phone and dial the number, the conversation you've been avoiding isn't as terrifying as it was in your head. Momentum is built in the first step, but when you say, "I'll do it later," you kill momentum before it ever has a chance to grow. Now, you might be thinking, "But I really don't have time right now." I hear you. Life gets busy. Responsibilities pile up. But let's be honest. How often is "I don't have time" really the truth? Isn't it usually that we don't feel like it? Or that we'd rather scroll, watch, or distract ourselves instead? We find time for what matters, always. If it's important enough, we figure it out. The problem is, we let urgency replace importance. We put off the things that actually build our future because we're too caught up in the things that only satisfy the moment. So here's the mindset shift. Stop waiting for later. Start choosing now. Instead of saying, "I'll start saving money later," set aside $1 today. Instead of saying, "I'll call my parents later," pick up the phone and do it now. Instead of saying, "I'll start eating healthier later," make one better choice for your next meal. Small action beats big intention every time. And here's the best part. When you start now, you don't just get things done. You start to trust yourself again. Every time you follow through, you're proving to yourself that your word matters, that you mean what you say. And that trust in yourself is priceless, because once you know you can count on you, there's nothing you can't build. Let me put it this way. Your future self is depending on you. Imagine meeting yourself 5 years from now. What do you think they'd say? Do you think they'll thank you for delaying, for waiting, for saying later, over and over again? Or do you think they'll thank you for starting, even if it was messy, even if it was small, because at least you moved forward? The truth is, later is a lie, later is a thief, later is comfort disguised as choice, but the only real choice you have is now. So the next time you hear yourself whisper, "I'll do it later," stop, correct yourself. Say out loud, "No, I'll do it now," and then take one step, just one. Because if you want momentum, if you want progress, if you want change, it will never come later. It only ever comes now. 3. Stop saying it's too hard. There's a phrase we've all said at some point in our lives. It's too hard. We say it when the weight feels heavy, when the path feels long, when the problem feels bigger than us. And honestly, it's an easy phrase to reach for because it sounds like the truth. But the truth is, it's too hard isn't a fact. It's a feeling, and feelings aren't final. Here's the danger. Every time you say it's too hard, you make difficulty your excuse instead of your training ground. You turn challenge into a wall instead of a ladder. You shut yourself down instead of letting yourself grow. Let's be real. Life is hard. Growth is hard. Dreams are hard. But since when did hard mean impossible? Since when did hard mean I should stop? Think about anything you've achieved that was worth something. Was it easy? No. Learning to walk wasn't easy. Learning to drive wasn't easy. Building relationships isn't easy. But you didn't give up when it got hard. You kept going. Why? Because deep down you knew it mattered. So let's flip the perspective. Hard doesn't mean stop. Hard means worth it. When you go to the gym and lift a weight, your muscles don't grow when it's light. They grow when it's heavy, they grow under pressure, they grow when they're pushed to the edge. The resistance is the reason you get stronger. Life works the same way. The very thing you're calling too hard is the very thing that's shaping you into who you're meant to be. Let me give you an example. Imagine climbing a mountain. The air gets thinner, the steps get steeper. Your body screams, "It's too hard." And in that moment, you're tempted to quit. But if you do, you never see the view. You never reach the summit. You never discover what you were capable of. And here's the twist. The mountain doesn't get smaller. You just get stronger. So when you catch yourself saying it's too hard, stop and reframe it. Instead, say, "It's making me stronger." Because that's exactly what's happening. Difficulty is not your enemy. Difficulty is your teacher. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if I really can't handle it? Let me tell you, there's a difference between I can't and I don't want to. There's a difference between being stretched and being broken. Most of the time, we underestimate what we can handle. We quit long before our true limits. Think about runners. When they feel like they've hit their wall, studies show their body still has energy left. It's their brain telling them to quit, not their legs. Your brain is designed to protect you, to keep you safe, to conserve energy. But safety isn't growth. Comfort isn't purpose. So the next time your mind says it's too hard, remind yourself, hard is proof I'm on the right path. Hard is the signal that you're stretching beyond what's normal. Hard is the doorway to strength, resilience, and confidence. Here's another truth. The more you face hard things, the more your definition of hard changes. What used to feel impossible becomes routine. The first time you speak in front of a crowd, it's terrifying, but after 10 times, 20 times, it feels natural. The first time you save money, it feels tough, but after months of discipline, it feels automatic. Hard things get easier when you stop running from them. Let's go even deeper. When you say it's too hard, you're focusing only on the pain, but what if you focused on the payoff? What if instead of saying, "This is too hard," you said, "This is how I grow"? Because the truth is, everything meaningful in your life will have a moment that feels hard. Building a business, raising a family, chasing a dream. There will be nights you want to quit. But if you push through, those hard moments become your testimony. They become the stories you tell about how you didn't stop when it was hard. And that's why you won. So here's your challenge. Erase "it's too hard" from your vocabulary. Replace it with "this is my training." Every time you want to quit, picture yourself getting stronger. Picture yourself climbing higher. Picture yourself reaching that summit. Because at the end of the day, hard is not a barrier. It's a bridge. And if you're willing to cross it, you'll discover just how much strength you already have inside you. So don't run from hard. Embrace it. Let it shape you. Let it grow you. Let it remind you that the fact it's hard means you're moving in the right direction, because nothing easy will ever change you. But everything hard has the power to transform you. Stop saying "that's just who I am." There's a phrase people use when they don't want to change, when they don't want to face growth, when they don't want to take accountability. They say, "That's just who I am." It sounds harmless, even confident, but really it's a cage. It's a phrase that locks you into the same patterns, the same habits, the same excuses, and the moment you say it, you stop giving yourself permission to grow. Think about what those words really mean. "That's just who I am" translates to, "I'm not willing to change," or worse, "I don't believe I can change." But here's the truth. Growth is the point of life. You're not supposed to stay the same forever. If you did, you'd still be the same person you were 10 years ago, and you're not. You've already grown. You've already changed, which means you can do it again. The danger of "that's just who I am" is that it sounds final, like there's no room for improvement, like the book is already closed on your story, but your story isn't finished. You're still writing it, with every choice, every word, every action. Let's be real. People often use this phrase when they don't want to face their flaws. They'll say, "I'm just blunt, that's just who I am." Or "I don't show emotions, that's just who I am." Or "I've always been bad with money, that's just who I am. But notice something. All of those examples are areas where growth is possible, where change would actually make life better. Yet instead of doing the work, people settle into the excuse. But excuses don't set you free. They trap you. Here's the good news. Identity isn't fixed. Who you are is not written in stone, it's written in habits, and habits can change. The person you are today is simply the result of repeated choices you've made up to this point. Which means if you make new choices, you'll shape a new identity. Think about a seed. If it could talk, it might say, "I'm just a seed, that's who I am." But with the right soil, the right sunlight, the right water, it becomes a tree. It was never meant to stay a seed. You were never meant to stay the same either. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but this is my personality. This is how I've always been. And listen, personality is real. But don't confuse personality with patterns. Being introverted doesn't mean you can't learn to communicate better. Being naturally impatient doesn't mean you can't learn patience. Being forgetful doesn't mean you can't build systems to stay organized. Personality is your starting point. Growth is your responsibility. And let me tell you something powerful. You have the right to outgrow your old self. You have the right to say, "That's who I was, but it's not who I'm becoming." You're not betraying yourself when you grow. You're honoring yourself. Think about it. If you said, "That's just who I am," at 10 years old, you'd still be eating nothing but candy for dinner, refusing to go to school, and throwing tantrums when you didn't get your way. Growth is natural, but somewhere in adulthood, we start pretending change is impossible. It's not impossible, it's uncomfortable, and that's why most people avoid it. Change requires honesty. It requires effort. It requires facing yourself and admitting, "The way I've always done it isn't the best way anymore." That's not weakness, that's courage. So here's the challenge. Stop hiding behind "That's just who I am." Start declaring, "I'm becoming better every day," because that phrase leaves the door open. It gives you room to grow. It reminds you that you're a work in progress. And that's a beautiful thing. Think about the person you admire most. Do you think they got there by saying, "That's just who I am"? No, they decided, "That's who I was, but I'm becoming more." They chose growth over comfort. They chose accountability over excuses. And that's why they became someone worth admiring. The truth is, you don't have to be stuck in the patterns of yesterday. You can build new habits, new skills, new strengths. You can decide who you're becoming. But it starts with refusing to lock yourself into the cage of "That's just who I am." So stop saying it. Stop using it as your shield. And start reminding yourself, "I'm not finished yet. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still becoming." Because the real truth is, who you are today is not the limit. It's just the beginning. 5. Stop saying, "What if I fail?" There's a question that sneaks into our minds right when we're on the edge of something new, right when we're about to take a risk, chase a dream, or step outside our comfort zone. It whispers, "What if I fail?" And most of the time, that little question is enough to stop us. It freezes us in place. We start imagining the embarrassment, the disappointment, the pain. We see ourselves falling flat, and suddenly we decide it's safer not to even try. But let's break this down. What's really behind "what if I fail"? It's fear of looking foolish, fear of wasting time, fear of proving to ourselves that maybe we weren't capable after all. Fear of failure is powerful, but only because we're looking at it the wrong way. Here's the truth most people miss. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the price of success. Think about it. Every success story you admire is built on a pile of failures. Every business owner who made it big had plans that flopped. Every athlete who won championships lost games along the way. Every artist who made something great created drafts, sketches, and rough versions that nobody ever saw. Failure isn't a dead end, it's the toll booth you pass through on the way to success. The problem is, we only see the highlight reels. We see the medals, the money, the recognition. but we don't see the sleepless nights, the broken attempts, the failures stacked one on top of another. And because of that, when we fail, we think we're broken. We think it's proof we don't have what it takes, but in reality, it's proof we're on the right track. Here's the mindset shift. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Ask, what will I learn if I fail? Because failure is the best teacher you'll ever have. Success feels good, but it doesn't teach much. Failure teaches you what doesn't work, where you need to adjust, where you need to grow. And those lessons are what eventually lead you to success. Let me give you an example. Thomas Edison famously tried thousands of times to invent the light bulb. People asked him if he felt like a failure. He said, I haven't failed. I've just found 10 ways that won't work. That's the mindset. Failure wasn't the end of the story. It was the path to the breakthrough. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if it's a big failure? What if it hurts? What if it costs me something? And you're right, failure does hurt. It does cost. But you know what hurts more? Regret. 10 years from now, you won't look back and say, I'm so glad I played it safe. I'm so glad I never tried. No, you'll look back and wonder, what could I have built if I'd just taken the shot? Failure is temporary. Regret is permanent. And here's something even more important. What if you succeed? We ask, what if I fail? So often that we forget the other side of the question. What if it works? What if this decision changes everything? What if the risk leads to a reward greater than you imagined? You'll never know if you let fear of failure stop you. So let's get practical. How do you stop being paralyzed by what if I fail? Here's the key. Reframe failure as feedback. Didn't get the job. That's feedback. Now you know how to prepare better for the next interview. Started a business and it flopped. That's feedback. Now you know what the market really needs. Tried a relationship and it ended. That's feedback. Now you know more about yourself and what you want in the future. Every failure is a stepping stone, but only if you step on it and keep moving. So the next time your brain says, what if I fail? Answer it. Say, then I'll learn, then I'll grow, then I'll try again. Because as long as you keep getting back up, you haven't failed. You've just found another way forward. The people who win in life are not the ones who never fall. They're the ones who refuse to stay down. So stop letting what if I fail be the question that paralyzes you. Replace it with what if this works. Let that be the question that moves you forward, because failure is not the end. It's not proof that you're not enough. Failure is evidence that you're in the arena, that you're trying, that you're alive. And if you're willing to keep learning, keep showing up, keep moving forward, failure will eventually turn into success. 6. Stop saying, I don't deserve it. Out of all the phrases that hold us back, there's one that cuts the deepest, one that doesn't just stop us from moving forward. It convinces us we're not even worthy of moving at all. It's the phrase, I don't deserve it. We say it when good things come our way. We say it when opportunities knock. We say it when someone compliments us, when life gives us a chance, when doors open that we never thought would. And instead of stepping into it, we shrink back. We tell ourselves we're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, that maybe this blessing belongs to someone else. But here's the truth. The belief, I don't deserve it, is a lie. A dangerous one, because it convinces you to reject the very things you've worked for, prayed for, and prepared for. Why do we say it? Sometimes it's because of guilt. We remember our mistakes, our flaws, our failures, and we think those disqualify us. Sometimes it's because of comparison. We look at others and think, they're better, they're more talented, they've earned it more than me. And sometimes it's because of fear, because if we accept the opportunity, then we're responsible for it. And responsibility feels heavy. But let's clear something up. Mistakes don't erase your worth. Flaws don't cancel your future. And fear doesn't mean you're not ready. It just means you're human. The truth is, you were created with value. Before you accomplished anything, before you proved anything, before you earned anything, you already had worth. So stop treating deserving like it's a prize you win. Deserving is built into you. Now, let's talk about work. Because maybe you're thinking, but what if I haven't done enough yet? Fair question. Deserve doesn't mean entitlement. You don't deserve results without effort. But if you've put in the work, if you've shown up, if you've sacrificed, if you've taken steps, then yes, you deserve to see fruit from that. You deserve to walk through the doors that open. Don't confuse humility with self-sabotage. Humility says, I'm grateful for this opportunity. Self-sabotage says, I don't deserve this opportunity. One builds you, the other breaks you. Think about it this way. If a farmer plants seeds, waters them, protects them, and months later a crop grows, do they say, I don't deserve this harvest? No, the harvest is the natural result of the effort. You're no different. The opportunities showing up in your life aren't random. They're the harvest of seeds you've planted. Stop rejecting your own harvest. Here's the problem with saying, I don't deserve it. It keeps you from receiving. And if you can't receive, you'll never fully give. You can't pour into others from an empty cup. You can't lead with confidence if you don't believe you belong there. You can't bless others with your gift if you refuse to accept that you're worthy of using it. So let's flip the script. Instead of saying, I don't deserve it, start saying, I'm grateful for it. Gratitude shifts everything. Gratitude keeps you grounded without making you small. Gratitude allows you to accept blessings without guilt and to honor them by stewarding them well. Think about the opportunities that scare you right now, the ones that make you feel like an imposter, the ones that make you want to say, I don't deserve it. What if instead you said, I may not be perfect, but I'm prepared. I may not know everything, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm grateful for this chance to grow. Because here's the truth. You don't have to be perfect to deserve good things. You just have to be willing to show up and keep growing. And here's something powerful. When you accept what you once thought you didn't deserve, you give others permission to do the same. You show people what it looks like to step into blessings with gratitude instead of guilt. You inspire them to stop shrinking and start receiving too. So stop saying, I don't deserve it. You do. You deserve to grow. You deserve to heal. You deserve to succeed. You deserve to be loved. Not because you've never made mistakes. Not because you've checked every box, but because you're here, you're trying, and you're willing to keep moving forward. Don't reject the doors that are opening for you. Walk through them with gratitude, with humility, and with courage. Because the truth is, you do deserve it. If you're willing to honor it, stop saying this. We've walked through 6 phrases today. 6 phrases that sound small when they leave our lips, but carry weight heavy enough to shape our entire lives. I can't. I'll do it later. It's too hard. That's just who I am. What if I fail? I don't deserve it. Each of these is more than just words. They're limits, chains, invisible walls we build around ourselves without even realizing it. And every time we repeat them, we reinforce the idea that we're stuck, that we can't move, can't change, can't grow. But here's the truth. You're not stuck. You're not finished. You're not powerless. You have the ability to shift every one of those phrases into something stronger, something that lifts you forward instead of weighing you down. Instead of I can't, you can say, how can I? And suddenly possibility opens. Instead of I'll do it later, you can say, I'll do it now. And suddenly momentum builds. Instead of it's too hard, you can say, it's making me stronger. And suddenly challenge becomes training. Instead of that's just who I am, you can say, I'm becoming better every day, and suddenly growth is back on the table. Instead of what if I fail, you can say, what if it works, and suddenly hope outruns fear. And instead of I don't deserve it, you can say, I'm grateful for it. And suddenly you walk into your blessings with confidence and humility. That's the power of words. They're not just sounds in the air. They're instructions to your brain, commands to your future, and agreements with your identity. What you say is what you start to believe, and what you believe is what you start to live. So today, I challenge you, guard your words, catch yourself in the middle of these old phrases and replace them. Don't let your language shrink your life. Let it stretch you. Let it lift you. Let it remind you who you're becoming. Because the future you're building doesn't start tomorrow. It starts with what you say today. So stop saying the words that chain you down, start saying the words that set you free, and when you do, you'll realize something powerful you always could. You always had it in you. You just needed to stop saying the things that convinced you otherwise.